Hello and welcome to the 6th edition of Grapes and Greens. Back at Wisley, we are very fortunate to be in this beautiful room that actually the last time I sat where I am was where a snooker table was. And these are the type of projects that happen at the Wisley. Was lucky enough to be a member for a couple of years, kind of 2015, 2016. And I'm even happier to be joined by the current CEO, who's a very good friend I've known for a number of years, and that's David Shepherd. Hello, David.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very good. Welcome to Wisley. You've been here less than a year, is that right?
Yeah, it'll be a year in April. So yeah, getting close to a year.
And when because I haven't been here for probably since John Glendenning was here, so I'm probably here about September, October 2023. So when was this bar?
Well, I think this room was probably John's last project that was finished.
Okay.
So was probably finished around the time that he went, which was October 23.
Okay. Oh yeah. So that's why I wouldn't have seen it. Yeah. So tell you what a job! Fantastic. Really enjoyed it.
Great room. I think everybody loves being up here.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So as usual, as you may or may not know, we discuss wine before we get on to anything else. You've got a couple of wines that you want to talk about, one from a memory point of view and one that you've got from the list. So what have you brought for us? First of all, what's the one that you've
so I've bought a Pinot Noir, which I believe is the popular choice right now. I didn't
really
know
is.
that before.
Yeah.
But no, I brought the wine, which is probably the biggest seller at the Wisley.
Okay.
Which is a Pinot Noir from Oregon,
right.
which is very, very good wine and always well received here. But I probably that's probably not the wine that I'm going to talk most about. I think wine for me is more about who you're drinking it with and the company and the place that you're drinking it. So probably the wine that is most important to me, or the wine that brings back the most memories for me, is the wine that I drank at my wedding. Yeah. We were in Portugal at the time. We were at Monterey. And there was a wine at the time, Quinta de Carmo, which was a blend of grapes, but mainly a Cabernet Sauvignon, which was an amazing wine, and that's probably the one that I remember the most.
Yeah, fantastic story. And what did you get married at Monterey?
We did.
Okay.
We did. We were very lucky. We couldn't have afforded it if I didn't work there. Amazing place to get married, and we had sort of 50, 60 of our best friends and family came over, stayed for the weekend, and we got married on the lawn just outside. Lovely. Overlooking the 18th green. So yeah, amazing.
Very nice, very special.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So when did it all begin? I mean, from a golf perspective, you're obviously a qualified golf professional. From a PGA perspective, it's fantastic. But you're a Wigan supporter, so is that home?
Wigan's home.
Yeah?
So I'm from Wigan. I went to university in Lincoln, and first golf job was a Belfry. So I guess fairly early I knew I wasn't going to be good enough to play, but I always wanted to work in golf. My dad was a golf pro. I'd been brought up around golf and wanted to be in the business. So I kind of figured that a business degree from university followed by a PGA degree would give me the best chance to have the best career in golf. And so that was a really great foundation.
Was the degree at Birmingham? Did you do the PGA degree course? Yeah, okay.
PGA
great.
degree from Birmingham University while being based at the Belfry as a trainee pro. So kicking balls on the range. And
did you work with Simon?
I did.
Did you? Ah.
So Simon and I go back a long way. I don't know if you know that, but Simon was my dad's assistant.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Simon was
everyone's assistant. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think when we moved from Lancashire to Yorkshire. I think me and my brother were maybe 4, 5, 6, and there was a young boy sat on the pro shop door as my dad arrived for his first day, and it was Simon asking if he could have his job back.
Yeah.
My dad gave him his job, and he then gave me my job at the Belfry. Yeah. And now Sarah Jane, my wife, works for Simon again.
Yeah.
So it's a small world.
It is a small world, isn't it? Well, I didn't know that. Well, that's very interesting. We kind of met when you were at. So how long were you at the Belfry? Sorry,
I think I did 7 years at the Belfry.
So wow, that's quite a long time.
Three as a trainee pro, and then did a couple of years as sort of golf services manager and golf operations manager. Before moving off to Portugal.
Ever thoughts of playing? like professional, like from a tour perspective? It was
No.
always
I
you
was
love
never
the
good
business.
enough. I
You
was-
love the business side
Yeah.
of stuff, and
Yeah, I think so. I think I was never good enough to play.
yeah,
Didn't want to get a proper job in an office, 9 to 5. Could never see myself doing anything other than being around sport.
yeah.
And golf was always the one that, I thought if I can have a career in this and do a really good job and see some amazing places, then I'd be very happy with that.
And the Belfry being really a commercial exercise. I mean, what kind of years were you at the Belfry?
I joined in 2003,
Okay.
and I was there till 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any tournaments during that time? Because there was a lull of tournaments.
There was
Yeah.
the Quinn British Masters. I
Okay.
think I did the first 2 Quinn British Masters.
Right.
So we looked after sort of the operational side of those, the pro-ams and the changing rooms and everything else that comes with that. So, yeah.
And a big, a big operation, the Belfry. I mean, how many rounds of golf a year?
100,000 rounds, 103,000 rounds,
wow.
I think. Pumping out well over 30 per course.
Yeah.
Just a monster.
Yeah.
380 bedrooms and whatever, 15, 16 function rooms and a nightclub at the time and probably one.
Anybody in my age definitely remembers that nightclub.
I heard it's gone.
Yeah.
With a lot of memories of a lot of young golf pros along with it, I imagine.
Absolutely, and a lot of people, diving in at the pond by 18 as well. I think there's a few stories of that. That's for sure. Yeah.
I think so.
But you must have learned a hell of a lot from that because it's not like a normal golf setup, is it? And the opportunities you have to see from a commercial perspective, the food and beverage element, the greenkeeping element, that's on a much bigger level than you would normally get from a normal golf club, an 18-hole golf club, with a traditional setup, put it that way.
I think it's not a surprise that people who worked at the Belfry, Wentworth, Gleneagles, Turnberry, have gone on and had, really strong careers. I think these type of places, they just open or give you exposure to so many more things than you would in an 18-hole private members club. Your days at a place like the Belfry are just so varied, from corporate clinics of 100 people to, VIPs flying in helicopters to, corporate events to tour events to, and anything in between. So you just get your mind gets open to so many different things. And then you're surrounded by so many amazing people. So, just from my time at the Belfry, the finance directors, the chefs, the F&B team, the conference and banqueting team, the guys who run the pro shop, everywhere you look, you've got sort of best-in-class managers, and you're watching and learning them without really sort of knowing that you're learning at the time, but you're learning all the time.
Feeding off it, and
yeah,
unconsciously you're bringing in all that. I suppose the beauty of doing a degree and doing the theory, if you like, is then doing it in practice and learning that that's how it's meant to be, but how do you actually make it happen?
Definitely. I think, having the theory behind the experience is important. Experience now, I kind of feel like learning through experience is definitely the best way, but that's because I had the theory to start off with. But yeah, it was the Belfry was an amazing place to get a good foundation.
Very good. I think that's really important. My foundation in club management was Wentworth, which again was very similar. Surrounded by, I was only 25 when I went to Wentworth, and I was surrounded by amazing people, who had so much more experience than me. Probably the three people that I learned most of at Wentworth was Chris Kennedy, from a greenkeeping perspective, just a legend. Willie Bauer, who was our CEO, obviously from a Savoy perspective. As I said to him when I was at Loch Lomond, he came and visited me. I said, in one way I was glad that you treated me as you did, but I don't think you would have got away with it in today's world because the bullying that went on was crazy. But it was a hard school, but I really enjoyed that in a way. At the time, I probably didn't enjoy it, but I think looking back, it was the way that I learned. because you didn't have any. It was either learn it or go, one of the two. That was it. And then the other person who was magnificent to me at that particular time was Bernard Gallagher. From a golf perspective, and an understanding of the club was fantastic. And at the time, he was the Ryder Cup captain as well. So, to being able to understand as my first club job, because before I'd worked with the PGA, was an amazing opportunity. And I think you're so right that surrounding your people with really good chefs. We had waiter of the year that time. You just learn from those experiences and their experiences, especially as a young person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then, so how did Monterey come about?
Yeah, Monterey was an interesting one. So I'd been on holiday and played it, which was random because it hadn't opened at that point. But I managed to get a game there. Monterey had just recruited a British PGA Pro to be the GM, Ian McAnally.
Okay.
And I'd been doing some work with the PGA back at the Belfry, helping with some of the trainees and things like that. So Ian had obviously called the PGA and said, "I'm looking for a golf ops manager. Do you know anybody who would be suitable?" And they put my name forward. So I then met Ian, sort of close to Wisley actually, and came down and met him. And the rest is history. Went and worked for Ian and for Monterey in summer 2008, I think it was.
Okay. Tell us about that experience. I mean, we share similar experiences because I went to Dubai because I wanted to have an international experience. You're out of your comfort zone, aren't you? You're going to a different country with different language. I mean, thankfully in Dubai, everyone spoke English, but maybe not so much in Portugal. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I went from the busiest place in the world to the quietest place in the world. I think my first year at Monterey, we did 4,500 rounds.
Wow.
So just gone from 3 golf courses and events every day, multiple events every day, to a place that's doing sort of 20, 30 rounds a day, losing a fortune and needing to grow. It was brand new.
One owner?
Single owner.
Yeah.
Moved country. So I think it was 24, 25 years old. Didn't really know much about the world. So went out there, and Monterey had given me an apartment, a shared apartment with somebody else for the first few months, I think. And it was in some very run-down little village where I couldn't sleep because the cats and dogs sort of around me were there. But, you find a way, and, after a few months you start to feel at home, and, you buy your first car, and suddenly you're there and you're doing it, and yeah.
And a good relationship with Ian. I mean, very, very experienced Ian. I know him well, and now in Russia.
Brilliant relationship with Ian. I mean, Ian was amazing at recruiting the right people to be around him, and then letting them do their thing with the right guidance and input. So me and Ian had a great relationship, and we keep in touch. And he's doing well out in Russia.
But I think that's so important in management. I mean, that's what I learned was, surround yourself by people who can do their job much better than you, and just let them do it and just support them in what they need.
Yeah.
But so many people think they have to do everything, especially young managers, because they think they don't have that experience to delegate in a way. They because they've probably worked in a little bit of a smaller operation, but you had that opportunity right from a young age that you were dealing with so many people who you couldn't do it all, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, the Belfry, you couldn't do it all.
Yeah.
So you surround and you learn how a team has to work with each department working together and talking to each other. Monterey was a little bit different, but still, that was a hell of a golf shop, and that's a hell of a restaurant, and you can't have one person doing it all, otherwise you're not going to have the best of everything. So, we had an amazing greenkeeping team, we had an amazing front of house team. I think at that point, the service that Monterey was delivering from arrival to finish was as good as anywhere. Certainly in Europe, but as good as anywhere outside the US. So again, amazing learning.
Yeah, and so did you take over from Ian, or so you went from being like golf ops director of golf?
Yeah, I was director of golf. I was golf ops manager, and then went to be director of golf when Ian moved off to Dubai.
Yeah.
So that was a big step up, because then looked after the shop and looked after sort of small parts of F&B. It was good.
Yeah.
Ian left sort of I don't know, 3 months before the biggest event that Monterey had, which was the Bonalac Trophy. So that was a bit of a challenge. That was my first sort of intro into a bigger event. And, you know, at that point, that event was amazing because John Rahm played before he turned pro. Cameron Smith played before he turned pro. Hideki Matsuyama played. Thomas Dietrich played. So if I look back at that event now, there's only 24 people, but there's, 3 major winners and some pretty big tour event
stars,
winners. So it was amazing.
No, that's amazing. Yeah. But Monterey is primarily real estate project, isn't it?
Yeah,
Business.
Monterey was different. I mean, Monterey was a golf product to sell houses.
Yeah.
So the whole ethos behind what we were doing was, can we deliver a golf experience that's so amazing that might tempt somebody to think, I want to live here. This is something I'd like to be involved in, this future vision, and I'd like to live on property. So, yes, we had some commercial need. We wanted it to break even, but actually it was about, can we deliver a golfer's journey that makes people, one, want to come back, but two, consider if they can afford it, can they buy a property, or would they like to buy a property?
Yeah, no, interesting. And that's really where you came on my radar, was when I had Club Inc., we used to run the summit, and somebody said, oh, have you heard of David Shepard? And I said, no. He said, Monterey. I said, well, I've heard of Monterey. Let's invite him across. And I think that might have been Wembley that we did that.
Yeah, I think the first one I did was Wembley, and then Lords, and a couple of others afterwards. But yeah, my time at Monterey meant that I got to meet lots of really interesting people, and of course a lot of other club managers who were coming to visit and learn from what we did as well. So yeah, it was a good place.
Fantastic. And then that really led on to us working again together in a way, in the fact that I was approached to find the CEO of the Scandinavian, which when I got the call, we were just talking about it off air before we started the podcast, was I got a phone call from a member of Cam Musan to go to the Scandinavian in Copenhagen that I'd never heard of. And I just went onto the website and went, wow, that looks amazing. So jumped on a plane and off we went. And we had to find the CEO. And just from your side of things, why were you interested in the position at the time of career? Because I think a lot of the managers listening will be very interested to understand the pathway that may be ahead of them, and what makes the decisions to go to make that career change.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, everybody debates when is the right time to leave their current position, and why should they accept the position that they're potentially being offered. And I was exactly the same. The decision for me at that point was, I'd done 7.5 years at Monterey. Felt like I'd done my bit. Done 5 years as director of golf and 3 years before with Ian. Felt like I wasn't going to stay at Monterey long enough to see the second golf course develop, which would have maybe been a reason to stay. Felt like I needed to keep learning. But probably more importantly, we'd had a baby at that point, and we kind of felt like the east side of the Algarve wasn't a place where we wanted to be with young children. So we were ready to move. We were looking at moving, I guess, north, or to somewhere that we thought would maybe be different to bring up a young family. We probably weren't ready to come back to the UK at that point. Brexit had just happened. You called and said, do you know anything about this place called the Scandinavian? And I probably knew a tiny bit, but not much. Immediately it ticked so many boxes. Everything you read about Denmark and Scandinavia in general is amazing for families. The job was a step up from director of golf. I was then looking after all parts of the business. It was a members club. So I'd done very commercial at the Belfry, and I'd done tourism and luxury at Monterey. So I was looking for another new experience, and Scandinavian opened that door. It was just a risk because the weather was terrible. So everything else was amazing apart from the weather.
Yeah. It was so funny though, during that whole recruitment period and interview period, every time I was there, it was beautiful weather. It was like 25 degrees, sun shining. We were eating on the terrace. It was like, wow. And Russell, I worked with at Wentworth, but basically just said, like, doesn't happen like this all the time, Neil. Can you come more often?
I said that to a few people in my first few years there. I said I was definitely tricked into coming. My first interview with yourself and Thomas sat on the terrace, overlooking the golf course was the first trick, and then the second one sort of a little bit later, September.
Yeah.
But still amazing.
Yeah.
Still weather was
Yeah,
great.
it was
And I
great.
remember walking around Copenhagen after the second interview and having a beer, and it was amazing. So I was definitely tricked into it.
You have to use all the tricks of the trade when you're in recruitment, that's for sure. But what I was really impressed, and it's interesting listening to, your thought process of what you wanted to do, and it comes across that you really want theory, and you really want to understand everything before you kind of put it into operation, which I think is really, really interesting. And you were given a clear brief on the second interview, which was, listen, I mean, really, financially the club was struggling. The owners have put in a huge amount of money, but just from on a yearly basis was just losing too much money for their liking. And the brief was to try and turn this round into a break even in 3 years. And credit to you. I kind of listened to your presentation. It's probably one of the best interview presentations I've ever sat through. And what was we've given you some details, but not all of the financials, because that didn't come from me. It was like, can you send him the information?
Yeah, so you'd asked me to put together a business plan to get the club to break even. So my first reaction back was, well, can I have the P&L, or can I have some numbers to go with to be able to formulate a plan, which was tough to get hold of, but eventually I got hold of some. I won't say they were detailed P&L, but I got hold of some limited numbers and started to formulate a plan and without knowing much, I managed to put together a plan which was basically run the place like a really great members club, with some tourism as well, and grow the brand and be able to then grow the price by creating some demand. And amazing with so little knowledge at that point that was actually really close to what we ended up doing and being really successful with. So I mean, there's a lot of other parts that had to fall into place for that to happen, but it really did play out as the business plan did, which was
but I think that was all credit to you. Is that you kind of looked, why it was nice to go over a couple of times, ask the questions from the chairman Thomas. Well, it wasn't chairman, but Lars and Thomas were involved with the club so heavily, and then kind of have a concept of what they were trying to do, and then really coming up with a plan. And one of the things why I was so impressed was like, well, that sounds like a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you do that? Because you could see the steps, and there was a caveat to everything, but you gave a reason behind it. And I think, again, for any young managers listening, that's really important. That trying to understanding what the club is, what it needs, what is the brief, and you nailed it on that. And it's good to hear that. What's that? 5? How long?
Yeah, I did 7.
7 years.
So it's now 8 years on, and I would imagine that 2024, the Scandinavian covered depreciation and made profit and had a very, very good year as well. So I'm pretty proud of the time that we spent there. It was an amazing place. I mean,
that clubhouse is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, as good as anything. I think what those 3 owners built is tremendous. It just, at that point when I arrived, it didn't have a plan. And it couldn't communicate what the plan was. I think, because it was early and because it was new for that region to have a luxury golf club, people weren't used to paying that amount of money, even though it's not the amount of money that it would charge anywhere else in the world. But it needed to be communicated. That vision needed to be communicated, and people needed to trust that vision was going to be followed through, and they could see themselves for a long time as a member of the Scandinavian, because people saw themselves there for a year. I'll give it a try because it's amazing. But actually, because nobody knew what the long-term plan was, people never sort of really built a relationship with it. Whereas, fast forward the clock a few years, people could see the long-term vision. They could see the development that was coming. They could see the changes in the golf course. They could see the investments. And it built a really solid, stable membership base, and with a little waiting list, and it was in a good position.
And location is fantastic. Literally, 20 minutes outside of Copenhagen, 20 minutes to the airport, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to stay in the house, which is right in the middle of the two golf courses, which I believe during your tenure you refurbished.
Yeah, we renovated that one. I think, spent quite a bit of money. So that, like you say, it's an amazing building in the middle of nature with sort of big glass front windows, but it was 3 bedrooms. Mm-hmm. So this is a bit of an example of what was maybe wrong at the Scandinavian at the time. It got a 3-bedroom guest house. Now, anybody who knows anything about golf knows that we play golf in 4s in general, and we certainly, when we travel in 4s, 8s, 12s, 16s. So, that needs to be how you manage your accommodation. And so we added a 4th bedroom and renovated it and made it as you would expect for staying on site at a place like the Scandinavian.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I don't. Would anybody go there in the winter for not golf? Was there any?
No. No is the honest answer. We did. We rented it a few times to people for a long term. So people would come for 1, 2, 3 months. People who were maybe seconded by Maersk or Novo Nordisk, and they'd been sort of shipped in for a project for a few months, and we let them use it. But in general, it was the golf business during the season that made it successful.
Yeah. So again, listening to people who want to get into the golf industry and club management especially, do you feel that your time abroad has been definitely worthwhile, and that you would have learned more by going abroad than by staying in just the UK?
Yeah. Yeah, the honest answer is yeah. I think it's not for everyone, I think. But yeah, for me, getting to 2 different countries and staying there for a reasonable period. You can go somewhere for a few weeks or a few months and not really integrate and not really understand what makes it tick and not understand the sort of nuances of each market. But once you stay there for a couple of years, you really start to understand it. So doing that now in 2 different markets, in different types of clubs, with different grass types, with different types of people, with different business models. Yeah, I definitely learned a huge amount about myself, about the golf industry in general, and about management in general.
Yeah, I think you would definitely. And so you got the call. How did the call, or what was the process to come to the Wisley? Because I know what the process was to get John Glendenning, and we also got John Lockyer. So, I went through that, kind of got to know the club, which is a great club. And I know what the club members want, which is very much golf, and golf at the very highest level. So how did that process work? Was that a phone call? Was it through? Because I'd left recruitment by then, so they couldn't have me again. So what happened?
So John is a good friend of mine. So when John told me he was leaving, he sort of said, would you be interested? Is it something that you'd be interested in? Because I'll certainly mention your name to the team that are recruiting. Rob Hill from GGA was doing the recruitment process. Okay. So Rob's a good guy and would always do a process like that thoroughly. So I was very confident that it would be a good process. I guess we were at a point where, a bit like when I left Monterey, I'd done nearly 8 years at the Scandinavian, and the Scandinavian had moved from where it had been when I first joined to being relatively successful. I felt like I'd done my time and was ready for a new challenge. And again, kids were at an age where I thought, this is the time to move. And actually, if we'd have stayed in Denmark for a couple of more years, we probably would have stayed for forever.
Okay.
We were that happy with being in Denmark. But there's probably only about maybe 4 or 5 golf clubs in the UK that I would have really considered moving the family across Europe for, and the Wisley's one of those. So the owner of Monterey was a Wisley member,
Okay.
and Ian McAnally started his,
Yes,
or
that's
one of his
one of
early
his-
jobs was,
In Warpleston, he started at, I think.
Yeah.
Under Jim Christine, yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and then he moved to Wisley. So throughout those Monterey years, I was definitely being hounded with how great the Wisley is from Ramon Lopez and from Ian. I then managed to visit a few times, was lucky enough to come and see the place. And, every time I came, you only see it from the customer side, but, it's an amazing place. And I was attracted to it because it's modern, it's fast moving. It's not a traditional golf club. The governance is very good, where there's definitely challenges of governance in some other golf clubs. I was happy to get the call and went through the process, and of course, like any other recruitment process, did a couple of interviews and then did a presentation, and then got asked a few questions, and then a little negotiation, which didn't take too long, and then I'm here.
And you arrived in May of last...
I arrived, I could have started on April the 1st, but probably would have been a bad day to start. So we agreed that April the 2nd was probably more
Okay.
appropriate.
Okay.
So I came April the 2nd last year.
Okay.
Yeah, so nearly a year.
And one of the things that, and you've just highlighted, is that things don't stand still at the Wisley.
No.
And as I say, I probably haven't been here for kind of 18 months, and drove in today, and there's a brand new putting green that's not even open yet. It's going to open like 1st of June or something, but it looked absolutely amazing. And were you part of that project? Was it a handover in between you and John?
Well,
or?
first of all, in case any members are listening, I hope it's open before the 1st of June.
Okay,
They might kill me if we say 1st of June, but no, I think some point in the spring, that
Okay.
putting green will be open as soon as
It looks
ready.
pristine now. I mean, I think you can
It's-
go on it now.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. No, so when I arrived in April last year, the garden project, the 9 holes that was under renovation, was growing in, nearly finished.
Yeah.
The putting green was under construction. It was actually a building site. The driveway was just about finished. But yeah, there was a lot of high-vis jackets and a lot of hard hats and a lot of Abbott's tractors and dozers knocking around. So it was still a bit of a building site at that point, but they were all sort of pre-arranged projects before I come. We were just finishing them off, really.
Yeah. And so, you were talking about a 5-year plan at the Scandinavian. I'm sure there's lots of things that, you want to be seen to be doing here. And I'm sure that the board here are very keen to continue to, invest in the product as well.
Yeah. I mean, the members are ambitious. The members travel a lot. The members see best in class all over the world and want the Wisley to be the best that it can possibly be. I think the Wisley has been through a period of a lot of projects. So we are taking a break this year, but I'm fairly confident that we'll get started with the next set of projects very soon, which will probably be the maintenance facility.
Okay, interesting.
So yeah, we have a maintenance facility is kind of an adapted building from the start and not really fit for purpose. So while John got to do all the nice projects with the green grass and putting greens and 9 holes, yeah, we get to do the maintenance facility.
Yeah, but they're pretty important. Those foundations are really important to do, and there's some very nice greenkeeping complexes that I've seen nowadays. Pretty cool. Cool.
I mean, when you look around and you look at what people are doing and what people are spending, it's pretty scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we definitely want to get something that means that John can deliver the amazing conditions that he already delivers for the next generation. But yeah, it's.
You've got a number of tour pros who are members here, so it attracts them because again, great practice facilities and challenging golf course facilities as well. Do you ever get feedback from them? Is there that drives it forward as well?
I think we get feedback from all 700. I think nobody's that shy in not coming forward. But yeah, I think if we were doing a project that involves the golf course or involves practice facilities, we will ask the pros. We'd be mad not to. we've got that resource sat there. Whilst we wouldn't let them design it, and we might not implement everything they say, yeah, we'll definitely do it. And the same with the maintenance facility. We've got members here who've done projects like that, who, been involved in big commercial construction projects. And we've already started asking them for feedback on some of our early designs and pick holes in some of our thoughts, because why would we not?
Yeah,
Why would we
absolutely.
not dip into that wealth of knowledge to make sure that the project that we do is the best it can be?
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. So from a club management perspective, you've been, CMAE, have you done diploma? Have you done CCM? Are you going through, I know you're a big advocate of education. Is that something you've had time to look at?
Do you know, I think I've done 3 of the CMA courses individually, but I've never actually done number 1.
Okay.
I don't know why. I think at some point I was booked on it and it cancelled, and I never got around to doing it again. So, yes, I love keeping my knowledge up to date, and I'm a big advocate of people doing that. But no, I'm probably not going to go back and do number 1. I'll just look for different ways to keep upskilling.
Yeah.
And whether that's experience based or in classroom based.
Yeah. What do you think are the hardest challenges for CEOs, general managers, club managers in golf? Because everybody kind of looks at it and go, "That's a great job," but I know it's a very demanding job. It's a tough job because generally the people who are in it make it look easy. Certainly, the best clubs, but it's difficult, isn't it?
It is difficult. I think there's 2 things. I think the first one, of course, people. Whenever you manage people, that is getting harder. We have to. It's very competitive. The scale of people's pay rises and what we need to pay to get the right people is growing far faster than any membership want to have their price grow. So that is a challenge. If you want to have good people and pay them properly, that's really tough. So providing great education, great people to learn from, great coaching opportunities within the business is really key. So we certainly do a lot more training and development and stuff for our people than certainly I've seen at some other places. So HR and people management is definitely getting harder. The other thing I think, resilience. I think club management is tough. Members and visitors, if you're in a place that has visitors, people are not shy anymore about letting you know what they think. I don't know if that's because of social media and, the internet culture that people can just type what they want, but it's definitely people's filters are not where they were. So it's hard. You're dealing with a lot of things. You're dealing with a lot of balls in the air. People expect you there a lot, whether that's front-facing or back of house. So actually balancing all that and being able to just do everything takes a bit of resilience, and you need to build that up over time. And I would say that's quite tough. I think some of the younger managers I see thinking they're going into a career that you can just do 9 to 5, and if you don't love it, it's hard. It's really hard. So I would definitely make sure you love it if you're going to go into this job.
And here you've got a great team as well. I mean, you stepped into a great team. You've got Ian Cox as director of golf, John Lockyer, looking after on your course maintenance as well. So, it's great that you can come in, and I mean, a lot of the infrastructure was obviously there from John and Wayne Sheffield before. It continued some great managers that have gone on to great jobs. So I think you're right. People management, both from members but also from staff, is probably key in your position as the leader as such.
Yeah, I think you definitely surrounding yourself with strong people and good people who can have the same values and have the right values for the club is huge. And I was really lucky that following John into this place and with a head of department team that is so strong is good. But equally, I would hope that, Christian, who followed me into Scandinavian, walked into a team of really strong, good people as well. And, that's
I'm
really
sure that
important.
was the case. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem. And then really we're just going to, some questions that we throw out there to our guests. If you won the golf lottery, either was that going to visit places, play places, buy stuff, what would you do with that money? What was kind of aspirationally, what would you like to do?
Good question. So I've always managed golf clubs for other people. So everywhere you go, whether it's the Belfry, you're managing it for Sean Quinn and his team, or as it was at the time, Monterey, you're doing it for Mr. Lopez, and then Scandinavian, you're doing it for the three guys, and now I'm doing it for 700 owners of the Wisley. I quite like to have my own.
Oh.
So I'd quite like to do all the things that I would like from golf without thinking about the stakeholders. So if I'm the only stakeholder, and I do it my way. So that would definitely...
That sounds like a Wigan supporter.
Yeah, it's maybe a bit selfish, I suppose. But me and Russell at the Scandinavian, we often used to talk about what it would be like our way. And some of the things like no rakes in bunkers. We had that great opportunity post-COVID to get rid of rakes in bunkers. How cool would that have been if that had just flowed through? And, golf courses with too much furniture. I hate furniture on golf courses.
The best place that's got no furniture? Adair Manor.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable because you've got caddies.
Yeah.
And you're right. When you see that, it's so clean.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's one of the things, the golf course is immaculate. It's an amazing place, but you don't see any of the stuff that you've just kind of highlighted, that it doesn't take away from your experience of the actual golf course.
I think, definitely my biggest hate is a map on a tee with a little plaque underneath, so for Bob's Plumbers, or I think if a golf club can't be financially sustainable without needing to sell that little bit of sponsorship, I think there's a bit of an issue there. And so I think if I won the golf lottery, that would probably be mine. I'd find a
nice. I like it.
Probably a 12-hole golf course, because 18 is probably a little bit much. I like an hour and a half, 12 holes.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Absolutely.
Fly around, no furniture, no stakes.
In immaculate condition.
With
great food and amazing wine from Wine and Earth.
And not too many other customers.
I
think that would be my one.
And then finally, if you had one more game of golf to play, where would it be, why, and who would you play with?
Yeah, so it would probably be on a links course.
Okay.
It'd probably be one of three: Royal County Down, Turnberry, or Dornoch. I think one of those three, probably depending on the weather that day. And I would get killed if I said anybody else, but it would be with my dad, with SJ, and we'd probably let Tiger join us, if he can get around, because we're not using buggies. So, but if he can make it round, then he can probably join us, make us up for a 4.
Fantastic. David, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you to Grapes and Greens for coming on, and hopefully everybody enjoyed that. Cheers. Enjoy the wine. Thank you very much for watching another episode of Grapes and Greens. If you'd like to watch further editions, please click here. If you'd like to subscribe, please click here. Thank you.